G'day guys, back again with week 2 with another photographic tutorial. Last week I uploaded my first one and that was on lens information, so I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that checked that out. I had some really great feedback on that, so thank you to everyone that commented on it, that shared it, that liked it, that gave me bad feedback. I don't care. Thank you so much for looking at it. I really appreciate it. Before I move into the topic of this week, I wanted to quickly talk about why I'm doing this. Main reason is I've been a huge fan of online tutorials ever since I started shooting. If it wasn't for them, then I probably still wouldn't know how to use the camera correctly. Sure, I could turn it on and maybe get a decent image here and there, but I wouldn't know the control over it that I do now. That's because of these online tutorials. There are so many awesome photographers out there that are doing this as a career. This is how they make money. And they still find time to go ahead and share their knowledge, share their information, share their tricks of the trade. Now, there's no other business or career in the world that allows you to do that. You know, these guys are giving away what they know, and there's no one else that does that. So that's what I love about the photographic community, is that we're able to do this. We're more than willing to help other people take better pictures. That's what it's about. So, you know, I'm really trying to help you guys become better photographers, because I know there are so many guys that I look up to. Mark Wallace from Adorama TV, Jared Poland from Phonos Photo, Greg Gazillo also from Phonos Photo, D-Town TV, Don Bauer, all these guys are awesome. You know, this is what they do as a career, and as I said, they still find the time to make awesome videos and help people. Whether they upload a video that I already know, whether about changing the shutter speed or turning the camera off and on, I'll still watch it, because I feel as if I have a personal relationship with these guys, because they are just straight up, you know, they're really awesome guys. They make really great informational videos that I love to watch. So, you know, that's what I'm trying to do here. And it's like anything, you know, everybody starts somewhere. If you pick up a guitar and you don't know how to play it, you get someone to teach you. You get in a car, you don't know how to drive it, you get somebody to teach you. Everything is a school. So this is what I'm trying to do, and I hope you guys are enjoying, because I know I am. Now onto the topic of this week. A couple of days ago I shared a link on my Facebook. What that was a link to a photographer called Denis Smith. He's an Australian photographer. I think he's based out of Adelaide. But he had a really interesting video. It's kind of a documentary on his life. It's only short, but it sums it up really neatly. I guess you walk away from the video thinking that camera saved his life. And I know that sounds a bit weird, but it kind of did. He explains that he was going through some really dark times, and everything was really down and dirt for him. So he got into photography, and it kind of brought everything back to life. And and that's the end of the story. So I found it very inspirational. I found it very motivational. I found it to be just a really awesome video to watch. I watched it about 3 times. And the project he did was called Ball of Light. And when you see the images that he takes, they're absolutely spectacular. And what you'll see in each of these images is a ball of light. How he's done that is he's gotten, whether it be a glow stick or an LED or some form of light, putting it on the end of a rope or end of string, and then spun it around. And now what he's done is a thing called a long exposure. And I'll go into more detail about that in a second, but in all these images you can kind of see, as you're a kid you might have had or you might do it these days, when you have a sparkler late at night and you move the sparkler around really quickly, you can write your name and you can write letters and do all kinds of painting in the air. Same applies to when you're doing long exposures. Now, the way this works is inside the camera you have what is called the first and second curtain, or the front and rear curtain. I call them first and second. Now, when you turn a camera on and you press the trigger, you press down the shutter, you hear something go ch-ch. Now, what that is imagine my chest is a sensor. So the sensor is the mechanics inside a camera that gathers the light and basically, you know, develops a digital image. That's what the sensor does. Now, the first and second curtain are like this. Imagine my chest is a sensor. First curtain and the second curtain. When you press the shutter down all the way, what happens is the first curtain goes up. Now, you can see through this. This is the lens here, and it's passing through to my chest, which is the sensor. So the first curtain moves up, second curtain moves down, and then it resets. Now, what happens in between that time is it goes up, light passes through, the sensor sees it, and an image is created, a digital image is created. Now, depending on the speed of these curtains moving up and down and resetting is determined to your shutter speed. Now, pro cameras can sync all that can shoot all the way up to 1/8,000th of a second. Now, that sounds fast. Why? Because it is. That is really, really, really quick. You know, that's why you hear when I'll turn this on. This is shooting. This is a Nikon D3S. Can't do it. There's no battery in there. I'm an idiot. Don't worry about that. Basically, 1/8,000th of a second is really, really quick. The shutter moves up and down at the speed of light. Now, the faster when you're in a bright situation, you have to really you control three. Imagine you're outside in daylight. There's something called the exposure triangle, and that consists of three elements that gives you a correct exposure. That's your shutter speed, your ISO value, and your aperture value. Now, if you were out in a bright day, in bright daylight, you know, you can shoot all the way up to 1/8,000th of a second, mainly because there's enough ambient light to be able to shoot at that speed. Though, once it starts getting darker, you will need to slow down your shutter speed. Now, once you start getting too slow, what happens is you're going to start getting camera blur. And the main reason for that is, you know, once you get to about 60th or 50th of a second, depending on what lens you've got on, you're going to start, when you're taking an image, unless you have the smoothest hands in the world, shooting at that shutter speed, you're going to start to get camera blur. So there's a couple of things you can do in that area to get a better exposure than that. So open up your aperture or adjust your ISO. So if you put your ISO up, you're going to be able to shoot with faster shutter speeds, but ISO introduces noise, which is a whole other issue. Same with the aperture. Changing your aperture is going to adjust your depth of field, which is initially what's in focus and what's not. A really wide aperture, say 1.4 or 1.8, you're going to get a really shallow depth of field, so something can be in focus and then the focus falls off really quickly. If you're shooting in maybe f8 or f10, then you're going to have a greater depth of field, so further things are going to be in focus. But reverting, kind of got sidetracked there, I apologise. Reverting back to what Denis has done, he has taken all his photographs at night, and what you'll see is these amazing colours and these all up amazing image. And what he's done is he's shot at a really slow shutter speed. So he hasn't shot at 1/8,000th of a second, he shot at 20 seconds or 30 seconds, or he's even moved into bulb. I'll explain bulb in just a second. So, a question I got from the last video was, the question I got on the shared link was for me to explain how Denis has created this image. So, I explained before, what he's done is he's gotten a light, he's put on a bit of string, and he's spun it around like that, hence creating the ball. But because he's had a very slow shutter speed, what happens is the shutter opens, it sees the sensor, and it stays open for 30 seconds or 20 seconds or however long it's been. And initially what that's doing is it's kind of like recording a video, because anything that happens in front of the lens gets transferred into this digital image, and as soon as the shutter closes, it processes, and whether it's JPEG or RAW, it doesn't matter, it's going to turn into this image. And that's what you see. So if there's light moving around in front of the lens whilst it's open, whilst it's taking this long exposure, it's going to see it. Now, a lot of the time you can see photos of cars, and a good example is this, because when you take a photo on a bridge, or you've seen photos taken off the bridge, a lot of the time what you see is you'll just see the streaks of light. You see the headlights and the tail lights. If it's a freeway, cars moving both ways, white lights and red lights. So what that is the camera, because it's a longer exposure, the camera is seeing the brightest parts of those images. So it's going to be the headlights and the tail lights. Now that's what the camera sees. And because it's open for 20 seconds, now what you'll see happen is those red light and the white lights are going to streak. Because the car is moving, the car's not going to actually be you're not going to be able to see the car. It's going to cease to exist. All you're going to be able to see is these white lights and these red lights, because they're the brightest parts. That's what the sensor is picking up. And that's kind of what, that is what Daniel's done here. He's done long exposure, he's acted in front of it, and he's made these lights move. That's how he's made these ball images. Now the way to do this is, on most cameras, well, so on most DSLR cameras these days, you can just turn the camera on, I'd recommend going into manual mode, and then turning your shutter all the way down to 30th of a second. So this is a D3100. It's very cheap camera, but it's very good. It's a very great you know, beginning camera. I got this from my partner. She's getting into it, so this is a perfect camera for her. So what I've done is I've turned this all the way down to 30th of a second. Now, when I press the shutter, this is going to open, the curtain's going to open, it's going to be there, it's going to be taking a picture for 30 seconds. There's a lot of light in this room, so it's just going to turn out pure white. But if I was to do this outside in really dark light, it's going to let a lot of light in. So a lot of times you can see the stars moving, there's a lot that's going on. Now, one thing that Daniel asked was how we did this. This is one way. He's either now Denis has taken his photos at either 30th of a sec. Sorry, not 30th because that's fairly quick. 30 seconds has been his exposure time, or he's moved into bulb. Now, what bulb essentially is your preference. It's not a preset of the shutter opening. It's your time, however long you want it to be open. So if you put it into bulb and you take the photo, so I'm pressed it and I'm holding it down now, the photo's being taken. As soon as I let it go, the image is there. There's a lot of light in this room, so it's become really bright. But that's what bulb is. It's letting you hold the shutter down for as long as you want. It can be 1 minute, it can be 10 minutes, it can be an hour. There are disadvantages when it gets to an hour long because you get a really hot sensor. But that's what bulb is. So what Denis has more than likely done, if it hasn't been 30 seconds exposure, is put it into bulb, put on a tripod. He's used something like this. This is just a Photix cable release. It allows you to do a couple of different things. It allows you to do self-timer, so 10 seconds, then it'll take the photo. It allows you to do intervals, so that's, you know, it's going to take 10 photos every 5 seconds for 3 hours. You know, that's interval shooting. Or it's going to do bulb. So the reason you want this is because the camera is so sensitive, you are going to use a cable release to trip the shutter. Now, the reason you want something like this, they're only fairly cheap. They're only about, you know, 40-50 bucks. The reason you want something like that is because it's going to reduce motion blur and camera shake. So because it's open for so long, the slightest bump is going to make that entire image blurry, and you want a tack sharp image. So that's what you'd use this for. So a cable release plus a tripod plus bulb exposure that you access through one of these is going to give you, you know, X amount of exposure time. So in my mind, that is how Daniel has done it. You know, just running over it again. He's had his camera on a tripod, he's been using a cable release, set it into bulb mode, used variable exposures. It might be 1 minute for one scene, it might be 1.5 minutes for a darker scene, it might be 2 minutes for a really dark scene. I don't know the settings, but that's more or less the style that he's gone with. So as you've seen, a lot of his images, they're really cool. I recommend that you check them out. They're awesome. Let me know how you think this video's gone. I'd really like to hear your feedback, whether it be good, whether it be bad, whether you thought I trailed off. Doesn't matter. I know these are kind of stretching out a lot, but you know, I really want to try and help you guys, and I really want you to ask me questions so I can help you. So that's where I'm at. Let me know what you think. If you want to check out some of my new photos, my new website is back up and running. It was down for about 3 weeks because I stuffed something up because I'm not a good web designer. Check out my site. It's www.palmedia.com.au, or you can contact me at phil.lagettie@palmedia.com.au. I'll have this information down in the description. So let me know what you think. Thanks heaps, guys. Bye.